I cannot remember the last time I saw a Pixar movie in theaters. I want to say the last one I saw in theaters actually was Onward. And so I had a free movie voucher and I decided to use it on Inside Out 2. So I'm going to talk about that today. Keep in mind that this is a kid's movie. So I don't plan to get too nitpicky about everything. It's a kid's movie. Relax, everybody. It's not like we're critiquing Citizen Kane here or something. So, I went in this movie, not many expectations, right? And my basis for a movie, if I enjoyed it or not, is if it made me feel. Did it make me feel? Did it make me laugh? Did it make me cry? And I had a couple giggles. I'll admit that. Now, I would say the first Inside Out was more emotional, in my opinion. But with this one, let's start out. Basis of the story. You can kind of get the basis of the story just by the trailer alone. Riley, this girl, she's going through puberty, and puberty is these new emotions that she has to learn to deal with. And in a way, it kind of reminded me a little bit of like Turning Red, where like the panda was a metaphor of like you growing up and you having to deal with these new things, right? And I think it's real interesting in like when shows or movies like give us that perspective, because like I think it's important to learn as you get older. Like you develop different thoughts and like different ideas and different emotions and different beliefs, and that was an interesting thing about Inside Out. Now anything that happens Inside Out, like I said, it's a cartoon, whatever. Like it's not. I don't think it's based on like real science, but like it's fun, right? So Riley's getting older, and the basis of the story is that she is noticing that like, oh, my life is changing. It's not. I've been alive for like 13 years, and I'm realizing that it's not all gonna be the same. Like in the beginning of the movie, she's having a good time with her friends. She's playing hockey. Like you get the whole montage of like what has happened since the last movie. The emotions have like kind of learned to like, I guess, kind of all work together, because last movie that was like the plot, right? And then she and her friends get like, hey, she gets kind of like, they get kind of like drafted? I don't know if that's the term I'm looking for, but like scouted to join, like to go to this hockey camp to see like how would you fit in like the hockey team in like high school, because you're going to high school now, right? So she goes, and then she soon realizes that her friends are not gonna be there with her. They're going to a different school, and so she basically gets a moment where like she meets one of the like the I think she's like the captain of like the hockey team, and like gets introduced to them, and it's like, oh my god, this like girl's like so cool, and like she's talking to me, and she wants me to like hang out with her, but like I kind of already promised my friends that I'd hang out with them, but she also feels betrayed because they're going to a different school. And so it's like, which path do I choose? And like this, like some of it reminds me of like when I like being younger, or even like as an adult, like when you have these different paths that you have to choose, and you have to think, okay, which one of these do I choose? The one that like maybe might get me ahead further, or the one that's like morally right? And so like, yeah, and I thought that was like an interesting plot, and then the basis of the movie is that like, the emotions have to like navigate how to like get her in the right headspace for this, because like boom, that's when like the new emotions come in, anxiety, boredom, embarrassment, envy. There was a funny moment where like this old lady comes out emotion, and she's nostalgia, but like she's like, they'll like come back in like a couple years and a few weddings down the line, right? So yeah, that was actually kind of funny. So, eventually, as you learn from the trailer, the other emotions like kind of take over, and it's kind of funny. It's kind of interesting though. Like the old emotions are trying to like, run with these new ideas and these new territories, but they don't know how to figure it out, because their emotions basic emotions that she's had, now she has more complex one. There's like a lot of variables going on as you get older, and you start having to deal with like people who aren't thinking like children anymore. These are like growing adults, right? So anxiety comes in, and it's like wowing everybody. Whoa, like what do you press on these buttons, you know what to do, and like all these other emotions that, like I said, they're more complex emotions, right? Eventually, like the anxiety kind of takes over, is like kind of their leader of the new emotions, right? And it's like, okay, you guys aren't working here. Like it's not working. We're good. And that's when in the trailer you see that they suppress the emotions, and then they go on the journey to like, in the movie, one of the things that they added was all the memories they can take to like this bottom well, and they form like a core belief of who Riley is, and the core belief that they've basically made for her is that she's a good person. And so that comes important a little bit later on, because all the other emotions that they deem to not be like great, like, oh, this was embarrassing, this is this and that, they go launch them elsewhere, where they just get stuck to the back of the mind, right? And like, we're just gonna forget about those. But like Riley at the core of herself believes she's a good person, And like, so the whole movie though, as anxiety comes in and gets rid of that, like, we're gonna make a new core Riley, a Riley that makes her seems cool, and like So they get rid of that core belief, and you're thinking, oh no, they got rid of Riley's core belief, thinking she's a good person. This is bad. Interesting. That comes on, like I said, that comes back later. So anxiety is coming up with all these different like core beliefs that like are more anxious based, and ways to just have her fit closer to these new people that she's hanging out with, these cooler people. Like, I want to fit in with them, and I'm gonna do whatever it takes to fit in with them, because if I don't, my whole life's gonna spiral. And like, and yeah, it does take me back to like, you know, like being in high school. Like, you want to just fit in, you want to be cool, you want to like be accepted, and sometimes you will do things that you don't like just because you want to be accepted. Now, granted, high school, you know, as a person who's out of high school, none of that stuff really matters. But like, this stuff can happen in your adult life, and so anyways, so there's a lot of, you know, fun little quippets and little bits here that were funny about the movie. I'll get into those here. Like, there's a part where like, okay, the original emotions get like locked away in this vault of like secrets, right? And then and this is what I love when movies do this, is when they mix animations styles. They had this animation where like they, in one of the vault's secrets, they meet this cartoon character that gives off like kind of like the Dora vibe, where it's like, do you know where this is? And it's like staring at the screen at, you know, the people in the theater, and like, who are you looking at? I'm looking at my friends. And then like the little thing has like a little fanny pack that has all these like gears, like, which one do you think will help us, like the Mystery Mouse control or something like that. And that was kind of funny. And that little guy's supposed to represent like, oh, this is a childhood like show that like Riley used to watch and like still likes, but that's a secret. And then like you meet Riley's like video game crush, which was like some anime protagonist character. And I thought this was probably like the funniest part of the movie, is like the way they animate him is like, he's so pixelated and grainy. When he moves, his hair crops into like his shoulder. It's I think that was like, I don't know which animator at Disney got to like pitch that idea, but I can tell that was like some like a younger person who was in the studio was like, would it be funny if we did this? It's just so funny. And then there was like some secret that Riley had that we don't really find out why that secret is in there. It's like some big hulking thing and like a hoodie. But anyways, the anime dude kind of like, they all help them escape. The Phantom Pig has dynamite for some reason. That actually does kind of come important later. And then the anime dude like helps them escape, and like that's kind of funny. It was a real funny thing. So they escape. They try to navigate through all the like different things in Riley's mind, but like it's changing so much, you know, because of what's going on up there. I mean, it's interesting. There are parts where like Riley's still awake, and it's because like she's so anxious about like all these new things she's trying to do that she's like up at like 1 a.m. and she's overthinking. And there's a part where like anxiety has like all the thingies, I don't know, I guess there's like cells or neurons, or I don't know what they are in the brain, like coming up with all these scenarios that like, okay, like this is a scenario that could happen for Riley if she doesn't do this or that. All these like nightmare scenarios are like keeping Riley awake. And then the original emotions come in and are like, actually, let's think of like happy scenarios of like could happen. Like, and that's something I actually think about. Like, whenever I've gotten anxious in the past, most of my anxious thoughts are like stuff that could horribly go wrong. I never think about like, what if I thought about the things that could go right? You know what I mean? And that actually kind of like helped me put things in perspective, as like, oh yeah, I never think about those kind of things. In a giving situation, yeah, a lot of bad things can happen, but like also a lot of good things happen. And I kind of like that part of the movie, and it made me like rethink a lot of things, but like not too deeply. But anyways, so that happens. The police chase them. You know, eventually they send at one point, this is like before, but they send Sadness back, try to go back to the headquarters. And then I think her and Embarrassment have kind of like a little like thing going on. They do like the little finger thing. That was kind of cute. But you know, so there's that. And he kind of helps her out a little bit, kind of figure stuff out. But I mean, there are a couple things that are like, another quirky thing is like boredom can control the controller thingy, or the emotion thing with her phone. I thought that was kind of like a funny little like, yeah, everything, you do everything on your phone now. You know. But so anyways, get back to like the main story. So yeah, Riley's like having to go through all these like, oh man, I want to fit in, but like I want to be cool about it, but also like she's dealing with the morality of like, but I've kind of betrayed my friends, you know. I'm even like making fun of my friends, you know. Yeah, so eventually at some point though, the original emotions get to the back of the mind to try to find the core belief that they threw out, that Riley's a good person. And at this point, the new people, anxiety has made a new core belief, and all these core beliefs are based on like, oh, like if I do this, that the people will like me. If I do this, I'll be good at hockey. If I do this and that, I'll be cool, I'll be accepted. And so her new core belief is just this. It's not her. It's not her. It's all these ideas that will get her to think they'll get her to like, maybe people will like her, but she's not true to herself. And so it comes out to a core belief thinking, I'm just not good enough, because no matter what I do, I'm just trying so hard and I just feel like I'm failing. And then eventually like Riley, like, just anxiety keeps trying harder and harder to like get Riley to like prove herself. If I just do this, I'll all people like me, and she just keeps fumbling more. She's losing it. She's like losing her grip. She ends up like hurting her friend in like the hockey scrimmage that they had at the like close to the end of the movie, and it's just like, oh my god, like and then she gets put in the penalty box, and that's when like this is for the part of the movie where I got a little bit of anxiety, because so Riley starts having like a panic attack. And like there's a part where she's like holding her chest and like her heart's beating, and I'm like, this is kind of giving me anxiety to watch this. And that's when you kind of learn that like, and this is something that like you do realize in part of the movie, eventually like they get the fanny pack thing, he blows up dynamite, they ride like this memory wave back to like the core belief, but all those memories that they shot back to the back of mind get like leaked into the lake that forms Riley's core, and they're like, that might be a bad idea, but we don't know yet. Because like, you know, they didn't want to put the bad memories in the core memory belief system thing. They do it anyway because the only way they can get back on time. They get shot back up, you know, back to the headquarters, and then they're like fighting Anxiety, who's like pretty much just gone out of control. She's like the Flash, like she's like moving so fast that like she's in one place but not at the same time. And eventually, like that reminds me, there's a joke. Joy's like, I'm gonna like go back and just tell Anxiety to just stop overthinking. And I'm like, that reminds me of so many times when like you overthink and people are like, just stop overthinking. You're like, yep, that's gonna help it, right? Or people are like, stop being depressed. I'm like, yep, that's gonna help it, right? You know, but basically Joy comes up to Anxiety like, it's gonna be okay. You have to just let go a little bit, you know, let Jesus take the wheel, I guess. And that's when you kind of learn that at that point, you know, in the beginning of the movie, they kind of, I wouldn't say they make Anxiety and the New Emotions the bad guys, but like you kind of like get the divide of like, oh, I want, or I guess if the kids who are watching it, like, I want Joy and the other gang to succeed, and the other thing, they need to stop, you know, overrunning things. But you also learn on the journey that, and I thought this was kind of great about the movie, was that Joy also learned a lesson amongst all this, is that she's not always right, and that she isn't somewhat kind of delusional. She doesn't have all the answers, and it's hard for her to be happy all the time, and it's stressful for her. And I kind of like that they did that. And she soon learned that, like, you know what, I've also been like running things wrong up here too. I keep putting all these bad emotions in the back of the mind. I'm not letting Riley ponder and think about them. And so when they finally let those bad memories get into like that pool, they form a newer belief of Riley of like, and this is like the lesson that I think is like the core of the movie, is that like all the experiences you have in life, like they make you who you are. You can't just suppress the bad ones, keep only the good ones, or vice versa, right? You have to like bind those all together to make you who you are, and just the core of you are. You know, I'm not, yeah, there are days where like I think I am a good person, but there's days where like, man, I'm kind of selfish. And then there's days where like I think I'm beautiful, I think I'm not beautiful, and you just it forms the core of like this ever-changing like belief of yourself based off all these things that you've done. And I thought that was very interesting that they did that. They kind of showed that, yeah, Anxiety was like overtaking things and overthinking too much, but Joy was also being kind of delusional, thinking that like everything could be so happy go lucky on time, and she provided that. And there was a part of the movie, this is when after Riley has her anxiety attack, her friends go up to her and say, are you okay? And she says, yeah, I'm okay. And I'm like, they missed their opportunity here. And then immediately they fixed it, and Riley says, no, I'm not okay. And that's what I wanted to hear. I wanted Riley to just say, no, I'm not okay, and admit it, because sometimes it's okay to admit that you're not okay and that you don't have everything figured out. And I thought that was done beautifully well. And so eventually, you know, Riley makes up with her friends. They have a good time. Then she's in high school and she's hanging out with the new gang of people that like she was so worried about like trying to fit in with. And also at the same time, she's still friends with the other friends, and she kind of started being more true to herself. And she's like, am I going to be in the hockey team? Who knows? And they never tell you that, but that's kind of not really the main point of the story. You know, eventually the Emotions kind of figure out everything. They give Anxiety some tea, and they call it Anxiety. I believe that's what they call it. Give her a massage chair. They all figure it out. And it's a happy movie. Yeah, it's great. Now, final words I have to say about the movie is, I don't know how realistic any of the movie is. I mean, it's a kid movie. I guess you want to show a good message, but it does remind me of, man, there are just many moments in my life that I thought about, did I choose the right decision by like going down this path because it would boost me further in life? But like, was I happy? You know what I mean? Like, what's the trade-off of like doing something that like, yeah, this might get me ahead further, whether it's like hanging out with people who like have better interest in me. The downside is like I have to like maybe mask myself a little bit, or being around people who like cherish me more, but like maybe I'm getting too comfortable. And for me, I'm a person that's like, it's all about balance in life, you know. But I think the core of the movie and the message that I got from it, and I think most people should get from it, especially if kids are watching this, is like, you need to be yourself, like at least the best version of yourself, because you don't want to mask yourself too much around people, because then like no one's ever really gonna like you because you're pretending to be something you're not. And that's something I've had to learn throughout my years of life, is that like try to be yourself. Like it's so cliche and I hate when people tell me that all the time, but like at least like the best version of myself is what I'm saying. Like, you know, work on yourself to be better, right? Don't try to like mask yourself. As you know, if someone doesn't like you for who you are, then you probably shouldn't have that person in your life. You know what I mean? And if someone does like you, because I've soon found out as I've gotten older that the more I'm just true to myself, the more genuine like connections I make with people. So overall it was a fun movie, right? You know, that's all I can really say about it. I mean, if I'm correct, according to the credits, Flea played this guy named Jake here. If I'm correct, is that the Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers? That's funny. Anyways, juice out. Now there is an end credit scene, and the end credit scene is basically like they reveal that the secret that Riley had locked away. I think it said she burned the carpet, which is something that I can relate to. I did that to our house when I was a kid. But but here's the thing, I thought it'd been so funny if at the end credit, like you see like, so Bing Bong like passes away in the first movie, right? Bing Bong comes out like with an eye patch or whatever, all black clothes, and like they're tethered, like I need your help, you know, or like I'm putting together a team, you know. That I thought that would have been funny. There was no way it was ever gonna happen, but it would have been funny.